guys? This is Ivan with Reformanda Radio, and today I want to talk to you guys about UFOs and aliens. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about UFOs and alien encounters and the paranormal. How do we think about this from a biblical worldview? What worldview best explains some of the phenomena that we are experiencing in the world today? And how do we assess some of the claims? Are they credible? We need to be able to weigh testimony. In the biblical framework, what we have is a standard of 2 or 3 witnesses. If we have a claim where somebody says that I know someone who has seen such and such, well then we need to assess, is that a credible claim or not?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
The other issue is we have actual credible evidence. People like airline pilots or high intelligence officials, radar data and radar footage that they're showing. And it seems like there are other actual worldly beings because these aircrafts are doing these maneuvers where these physical aircraft could never do these maneuvers. What are we to make of those? The biblical framework actually gives us a framework to understand the paranormal. What we see in the Bible is that there are actually otherworldly beings, and they're called angels. We have good angels and we have bad angels. The book of Hebrews says that angels are ministering spirits. They're ones that minister to us and they help us. So those are the good angels. They're unfallen. Then we have fallen angels, and these are nefarious creatures. And so what we see is that Satan is a fallen angel. He is one that could masquerade as an angel of light. So we have creatures that are good, that help us on the other side and sometimes not able to see what they're doing. And then we have fallen creatures, fallen angels that actually are working behind the scenes for nefarious purposes. And when we look at the Bible, sometimes these angels can actually affect the physical world. So we see this in the book of Genesis, and we see what's called the Nephilim, when we see these creatures coming down, and possibly one interpretation is that they mated with women. The product of their relationship was these giants. That's one interpretation. We also see in other places in the Bible that there were warring angels, and the outcome of this war of these angels actually impact the physical world. And so what we see actually is that the biblical framework gives us a standard by which we can assess some of these claims of paranormal activity. So is there really a problem if there's other worldly beings? Actually, no. If the Bible doesn't really tell us that there aren't any other creatures on any other planets, that wouldn't really cause a problem for the biblical worldview. But what the biblical worldview does give us, and it tells us that there are actually other worldly beings. There is another realm where there are other creatures, angelic creatures. The other thing that we need to take into consideration is that a lot of people have made this connection between UFOs and UAPs and New Age occultism. As Christians, the Bible tells us not to talk to the dead. It tells us that necromancy is a bad thing to do. We shouldn't engage in that. We should actually be engaging in prayer to God, but there shouldn't be any type of communication with the dead. The Bible strictly condemns this type of behavior, speaking with the dead and trying to speak with other worldly beings. And if you actually look at what some of these people are saying, they're actually telling you that you can communicate with aliens, you can communicate with these other worldly beings.
What does the communication look like? Is there communication? Is it telekinetic? Do we speak the same language? Like, what does actual communication between humans and alien beings look like, if it does exist?
It does exist.
But what we actually need to realize is that this is strictly condemned by the Bible. The reason for this is because these creatures, these otherworldly beings, actually don't have our good interests in mind. They actually seek to do us harm. And so this is why we need to be informed by a biblical worldview. Stick to the scriptures and stick to the worldview that actually gives us a foundation to interpret the world around us, and to not be deceived by what the media is trying to tell us. So guys, I hope that gives you a couple of things to think about and how to think about UFOs and alien encounters from the biblical perspective. That does it for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Leave a comment in the comment section. What do you think about aliens? How can we think about this from a biblical perspective? And we'll see you on the next video. And to God alone be the glory. What is that? Go, 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 go!